guys, I'm Janet on occasion, and today we're going to play another campaign lore play, and well, it looks like, well, we're going to be talking about Midland, aren't we? Because we decided to invade it, which it probably isn't the most lore-friendly thing to be doing, but who cares, right? Because, yeah, we're the Emperor, we can do what we want. Although he's actually a really good dude, the Emperor, and probably wouldn't declare war like this. But I want to talk about Middenland, and we've got to conquer it to do that, because they won't confederate with us. I'm just going to talk about stuff that isn't in our empire. That's boring, because then I'll just be sat there, you know, sitting on my land. I've got to go to war with someone, so it may as well be the ones I want to talk about. So, Midland it is. Although technically Nordland at the moment, but yeah, Midland and Nordland are pretty tight. So anyway, we're going to talk about Nordland. No, we're not. Middenland. That's the one. Or more specifically, the Grand Duchies of Middenheim and Middenland. Yeah, they're actually, the reason why they're sort of joined up like that, because one is actually a city-state, essentially, being Middenheim is a city-state, but it sort of resides within Midland, but they've got the same ruler, so they're, you know, sort of considered one big province, and it's all fine. So, and yeah, their ruler being, Boris Todbringer, or, to use his correct titles, the Elector Count, Boris Todbringer, Graf of Middenheim, Grand Duke of Midland, Prince of Karaberg, Protector of the Drakwald, Warden of the Middle Mountains, and Beloved of Ulric, which is quite a mouthful. So anyway, let's not talk about Midland, and we'll get to Middenheim when we get to Middenheim. So, founded by the ancient Teutonians, perhaps the fiercest tribe in Sigmar's confederacy, the Grand Duchy of Middenheim and Midland, commonly referred to simply as Middenland, is the powerhouse of the Northern Empire. Through military and economic power, it dominates its neighbours to the east and north, Hochland, Ostland and Nordland. Its influence rivals Reichland and Talabecland, and its great city of Middenheim considers itself equal of Nuln or Altdorf. Midland has provided emperors in the past and looks to do so in the future. There's a great spell that's going to come up here, so I'm gonna just wait for that. And boom! Penundral Pendulum through most of their units. It didn't actually kill many. Got a lot of, I mean, it killed a fair few, but it did a lot of HP damage, so I just have to point it out, because I love that. I love when stuff like that lines up. So, anyway, I'll get back to, talk about, you know, why we're all here, right? So, anyway, when regional crisis threaten the Empire, Midland is considered, and considers itself, the voice of the North. Midland comprises a vast swathe of territory stretching from the River Reich and the Great Northern Road of the Wasteland, in the west and southwest, and Hochland and the Middle Mountains to the east. South beyond the Talabek is Talabecland. Midland sometimes rival for the leadership of the cult of Ulric. To the north are her ally Nordland and the Laurelorn Forest, home to the mysterious and occasionally hostile Wood Elves. That's right, there are Wood Elves in the north, up near sort of in Nordland, but sort of in Midland, if I've got the positioning exact there. But anyway, pretty cool, the idea of having, you know, Wood Elves up in north, and I really hope that they do that. I hope they make some changes in, you know, Warhammer 2, and add a few more sort of sub-races, now that they have all the races in. So yeah, just making a new, like, one city province, right, up there, and there's just a load of elves in it. I think that'd be great, you know, it's something else to fight, if you're playing as, like, you know, the Empire, or, you know, possibly the Norskins, if they're introduced, you know, as we're sort of... Everyone seems to be speculating it's going to be the Norskins anyway. So yeah, that the elves are hostile because of Middenland's long-standing claims to the Laurelorn is immaterial, since these claims were inherited from the Drakwald emperors of long ago. The Drakwald itself is a vast ancient forest running from the edge of the wasteland to the far end of Hochland. While mankind has made settlements there, some deep within it, the forests hold many secrets, and it does not give them up graciously. Dragons terrorized the ancient tribes and ancient tribes and early empire from there, until an emperor killed the last of their kind. Still, foolhardy treasure hunters brave the depths of the Drakwald to seek the riches of a lost dragon's lair, or perhaps their eggs, which are said to remain fertile forever and only need great heat to hatch. I want more dragons, because dragons. Anyway, deep under the forests, forest eaves also lurk Beastmen, descendants of the raiders from long ago, who breed and wait, occasionally attacking the lone farm or small group of travellers, until the time comes for chaos to claim the north. The nobles and burghers of the province occasionally mount expeditions to root them out, but survivors always flee deeper into the forests, to wait again and regrow their numbers. Now, before I keep reading, I want to point out, you may notice that I have another mod running. It's the Immersive Battle Banners by Den, which is definitely a mod you should check out, because they do look amazing. And, they have all flags for, your troops in battle, and they've got, all these amazing flags and all the settlements and the armies. They look amazing. So much flavour in them. So, yeah, I couldn't help but introduce that to the series, because they just look beautiful. So, anyway, go check that out. Yeah, that's Immersive Battle Banners by Den. So, go see that. It is good. So, in the far west of the province are the Midden Walls, a vast infertile tract of hills and wetlands that are the source of several tributaries to the Reich. The vast pools of its interiors are said to be still as glass, even when the wind blows, so still they perfectly reflect the night skies. Nobles and the wealthy sometimes come here on fishing expeditions, for the trout are reputed to be the sweetest in the empire. But the moors are reputed to be haunted. Too. That's so irritating. I had to turn the page just for the word "to." Like, put that on the same page. I mean, make it fit. I mean, that's just annoying. Anyway, so strange lights are seen in its mists at night, and the ghosts of the Drakwald soldiers killed long ago are said to haunt its farther reaches. At the far southeast are the Howling Hills, where the winds among the Badlands keen like spirits of the dead. The castle of Middenstag guards the Delbers Hergig Road from the outlaws who hide among hills and canyons. To the north, near Middenheim, the ground sinks into swampy morass called the Shadensumpf. Little of worth is found here, though some small villages make a good living harvesting bog iron. The Shadensumpf, I think, also provides refuge for criminals fleeing the Graf's justice. Of note is the vast population of black cranes that migrate each autumn from the Shadensumpf to the warm climes of Tilea, before returning in late spring. The crests of the birds have become quite fashionable in hats, leading the Graf last year to impose a tax on each bird taken. This, in turn, has led to a rise in poaching and smuggling. So, that's kind of annoying. So more taxes, but obviously, trying to keep the birds from dying out. But they do make great hats, so come on, Graf. Fair's fair, right? So anyway, the people. So Middenlanders are descendants of the warlike Teutogen tribe. Fierce and unrelenting in their ways, they quickly carved out a kingdom from the harsh lands of the Howling Hills, driving the native Jutone tribe into the fog-shrouded depths of the wasteland. When Sigmar came to them, he found a tribe with an unbending will and strong sense of honour. Though other tribes had joined under his banner, the Teutogens refused to submit to the future god. Eventually, Sigmar was forced to kill their tribal chieftain, Artur, in single combat to prove his strength and worth to the Teutogen peoples. And novelly, he didn't just kill the chieftain, he actually walked into the, I think it's just called the Flames of Ulric. There's a big torch in Middenheim, which we'll get to. But anyway, Sigmar walked in it and didn't get burnt, which is kind of cool. Because, he was worthy. So, fun. So, anyway, like all Northerners, Midlanders are famed for their stubborn ways. Their Teutogen blood and their firebrand tempers has given them a reputation as uncontrollable traditionalists. They hate change of all types, and defend what they see as tradition at all times. They are the last to admit that they are wrong, and first to challenge an unworthy leader. Whilst those of southern Midland are less strident than their Drakwald cousins, even they are considered coarse, arrogant, and controlling by the rest of the empire. At their best, Midlanders are staunch defenders of pride, poverty, and traditions. Sorry, property and traditions. They're not defenders of poverty. That'd be an odd thing to try and defend. Should an unjust tax be levied, Midlanders will march in protest, torches flaming and pitchforks raised. They can sometimes rally behind a single person's case, particularly those of destitute war widows, orphans, and put upon guild members. This has caused Midland politics to have a crude, rabble-rousing element that does not exist so much in other provinces. At their worst, Midlanders are a fractious, intolerant group of individuals. Not only are they quick to mock, and sometimes pummel, those they see as foppish, dandified folk, They are also exceedingly suspicious of foreign influence upon their province. They refuse to use the occasional Bretonnian, Telean, or Estalian words that have been absorbed into Reichspiel. Ordering a Bretonnian brandy in a Midland tavern will cause a yawning silence, as all of the folk look around at the fool who has just signed his own death warrant. Curiously, if a foreigner stands his ground and demonstrates pride in his country, Midlanders will often accept them as a braver soul than most, or probably has some tutagen in them. Ulric knows our ancestors got about, eh? I kind of like that. So anyway, Midlanders are divided along what they were once clannish lines, but have now divided into geographical prejudices. At one time, the Drakwald region had a distinct identity from the rest of Midland, producing a line of notoriously corrupt emperors. With the collapse of their dynasty and the devastation of the Great Plague of 1111, the power of the Drakwald was decimated. It ceased to exist as a separate entity when the Emperor Mandred gave it to Middenheim, creating the province as it stands today. Its people are still known as mean-spirited and grasping. Once a Drakwalder, always a Drakwalder, but seem to be softening over time. Those from the south of Midland, closer to the influence of Altdorf and Marienburg, are known to be cosmopolitan by Midland standards. As far as the rest of the Empire can gather, this seems to mean that they wash a little more often, and are less likely to shout at people in the street. Those from further north, meanwhile, especially in Middenheim, are more laconic and brusque. They do not believe in wasting words, nor do they like it in others. Old apocryphal stories say that the Graf Boris's grandfather, on his mother's side, once had a halfling's tongue cut out for taking too long with his after-dinner speech. The further south one goes, and the closer one comes to those effete Racklanders, some Midlanders say, the people become more talkative and expressive. Carroburg, for example, has the only school for oratory in the Empire, a relic of its days as the imperial capital. Midland's relationship with its capital Middenheim is also rather complex. The city of the White Wolf has not always been part of the province, its fortunes often waxing and waning with the ruling houses of the times. As Midland has laid siege to Middenheim several times throughout imperial history, there are many jokes about ridiculous uprisings, much to the irritation of the men of Midland. In truth, the city and the province are separate political and social entities, drawn together by the rule of Boris Todbringer, and likely to fracture should power pass from his line. But not our line, though. Don't worry, we'll secure the whole province, and we'll keep it in line. Okay? So, don't worry about that. So, in war, Midlanders overall are regarded as a tough bunch. The province is home to the Knights Panther, the Graf's Royal Guard, and the Knights of the White Wolf. Templars fiercely devoted to the service of Ulric and the protection of his people. Those two orders form the shock troops of Midland's forces, backed up by sturdy pike and halberd men from among the burghers and peasants. These forces formed the core of the strength that kept Archaon from taking Middenheim and breaking into the heart of the Empire. So this is obviously, after the Storm of Chaos, which in this game hasn't really happened. And also, this spell is going to be awesome, so yeah, be sure to watch this spell. It's just such a great spot for it. Anyway, so these forces form the core of the strength that kept Archaon from taking Middenheim and breaking into the heart of the Empire. Now that Archaon appears defeated, however, there is agitation from among those called to service to be allowed to return home to their families, farms, and businesses. This has fed resentment amongst the officers, largely Easterners, and the rulers, who think the common folk should just shut up and do their duty. Outside their province, Midlanders are strongly associated with their provincial dish, the spiced sausage. Though each village and town guards its own traditional recipe, and claim they will eat no other, it's a well-known fact that when Wurstfest rolls around, Midlanders are the first to the table. Midlanders use harsh tones, much like Nordlanders. However, their accent is more famed for its use of archaic words and grammar. They refuse to acknowledge many of the foreign terms that have penetrated Reichspiel. Okay, so earlier on I mentioned the Knights Panther and the Knights of the White Wolf. So I want to talk about them. So now I'm moving from the Sigmar's Heirs, which is a 2nd edition Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay supplement, to a Warhammer Fantasy Battles 8th edition Empire battle book, or army book, I guess. So I'm going to talk about those knightly orders a bit. The Knights of the White Wolf are a fierce order of warriors based in the northern city of Middenheim. These loud and brash warriors follow the creed of Ulric, the god of battle, wolves and winter. The white wolves wear mantles of wolfskin over their armour and eschew the use of a lance, instead carrying mighty warhammers to smash the skulls of their foes. They carry no shields and ride to war bareheaded to better display their long hair and impressive beards as they howl their ferocious war cries. In contrast, the unorthodox Knights of the White Wolf, the Knights Panther, are a formal order, what traces its origins to the terrible crusades against Araby, where the returning crusaders brought back the pelts of outlandish animals. They hung them on their pauldrons of their armour as trophies of their bloody victories. Thus was born the Order of the Knights Panther, a courageous brotherhood that is known and respected throughout the Empire. Like most orders, the armour and weapons of the Knights Panther are of a more traditional nature. They wear full battle armour and carry tall lances as their main weapon. So I have actually spoken about the Order of the Knights Panther in an earlier episode. Knights of the White Wolf are definitely more sort of representative of Midland. They, they fight for Ulric, and that's, the sort of patron deity in the north, which is, bizarre, because obviously Sigmar is, the sort of the god emperor. But no, in the north they still, have a real thing for Ulric. But anyway, so I'm actually going to hop over to a different book and talk more about the Knights of the White Wolf. This is the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 3rd edition book, Omens of War, where it's got an excerpt about the Knights of the White Wolf. So I'm going to continue to talk about them, because they are very cool. So the Knights of the White Wolf, or White Wolves as they are more commonly known, are an order devoted to Ulric, and one of the most numerous and powerful of knightly orders. White Wolves can be found guarding the temples and priests of Ulric throughout the Empire, and regiments of these knights often serve in the armies of Elector Counts. The Elector Count of Middenland also frequently petitions their aid in ridding the immediate Drakwald Forest around Middenheim from the dark horrors that lie within, a petition that is often granted, and occasionally achieved if only for a brief time. The White Wolves are an ancient order based in Middenheim. They were founded following a great victory against chaos outside the city walls, which claimed made that this date back to the time of our Ulric Vulcan over 2,000 years ago. Many members of the White Wolves are hard-nosed traditionalists, and whilst the Order's leaders are guarded about their opinions regarding the beliefs of other gods, it would be inconceivable to think that the Order doesn't include individuals who look down on Sigmar's followers. Some members of the Order are also known to regard followers of Myrmidia with a dismissive attitude. Fortunately for the Empire, such petty bigotries remain private, and usually only result in the Knights' pushing themselves further in terms of prowess and valour on the battlefield, in the hope of outshining their rivals. What is known for sure is that their famously fiery temper, their ferocious war cries and charges are legendary. The White Wolves ride to war bareheaded, their long hair and beards flowing in the wind. They wear cloaks fashioned from the pelts of wolves from the Drakwald Forest. These cloaks are important personal items for the knights. Each is required to hunt down and kill a wolf with his bare hands as a rite of passage when becoming a member of the Order. Unlike most knights, the White Wolves do not fight with a lance. They also eschew the use of shields, preferring to keep both hands free to wield a massive double-handed cavalry hammer. The knights wear red for the banners and barding of their units. So, a few other bits I've read in other places, which I honestly could not tell you where at this point about the Knights of the White Wolf, is also they don't necessarily have to kill a wolf with their bare hands. They are also allowed in if they kill a wolf with a weapon that they themselves have made. That way it's still their achievement. So I think that's kind of cool. The idea that you don't let anyone else help you, so you can't have someone else give you a sword to use. No, you got to do it yourself. So that's kind of cool. So I really like that. Also, it's seen as like a massive sort of what's the word? It's incredibly like ignoble to wear a wolf pelt that you haven't killed yourself. You've got to go into battle wearing your wolf pelt, but it's got to be yours. It's got to be from a wolf you yourself killed. If you wear any old wolf pelt, it doesn't matter if you've sort of become a knight by killing a wolf in the past. That's a big no-no as well. So yeah, very traditional bunch, and which I think just sums up the whole sort of ethos of the whole sort of morality, the whole personality of Midland in general. They're just sort of like that cliche, that stereotype of a Midlander, but on acid, right? It's just take that up to 11. which I think is, I think is really cool, because they're just such a brash bunch of people. Big beards, no helmets. They want the enemy to see their face. It's love it. Now, so we just took over Weismund, but the weird thing is, going through this, massive list of towns, which should have all the famous ones, right? Again, I'm reading from Sigmar's Heirs, by the way. So I was trying to find Weismund, but it doesn't have Weismund in here at all, not even slightly. It doesn't exist, which I find really bizarre. So during time of 2nd edition roleplay, which came out in like 2005, I think, around then. Yeah, no such thing as Weismund. So I don't know where Creative Assembly found it. I don't know what that town is, because apparently it's one of the 3 biggest settlements in Middenland, but it's not here. So I don't know if then they changed the name or something. Honestly, I have no idea. I find that really bizarre. But what can you do? So yeah, I find its absence rather interesting. Although I can't really tell you anything about it. I think the fact that it is absent is kind of novel. So anyway, so let's go to some sayings of Midland, because that's always funny. So if a Middenlander was to call someone a Drakwald soldier, they might be suggesting that they're foppish, dandified, and a weak person, which I find very amusing. Also, if they want to say that they're protesting something, they might say, "I'll raise my torch to it," which pretty self-explanatory. Also, if someone is lying, or any sort of lying or conniving talk might be described as Drak tongue. Sort of some leftover bigotry from the Drakwald there. And to take the hard or dangerous route would be to go by the North Road. So pretty cool. So some little sayings there, bit of character for you. So you guys have probably guessed that the Forest of Drakwald plays quite a big part in Midland. It covers a lot of it, and it's quite a busy place. So I want to talk about the forest for a bit, because why the hell not? So, the Empire is a land dominated by grim forests, strewn with spiderwebs and moss-covered remains of unwary travellers. These tangled woods are infested with all kinds of evils, and all manner of dreadful creatures and forgotten secrets are concealed beneath darkened boughs. This vast swathe of dark woodland is punctuated in places by the spires of wizards' towers, fortified watchtowers, and arcane ruins, many of which are now the lairs of fierce beasts, bandits, or mutants, as well as a few of the more isolated settlements of the Empire. These are lonely pockets of civilization, high-walled towns and villages where the gates are locked and barred every night, and the surrounding forest is regarded with dread. Few dare venture beyond sight of the tree line, and those that do are rarely seen again. Connecting the towns and villages of the Empire are perilous rutted roads with fortified coaching inns scattered along their length. However, even these refuges are not without danger, and many tales are told of wary travellers who have discovered an inn completely empty of life, its inhabitants slaughtered to a man, its walls coated thickly with their blood. The infamous Drakwald Forest lies under a perpetual gloom in the area around Middenheim. Vicious monsters and savage beasts prowl the dark pines, and more frightening noises than the echoes of howling wolves keep villagers awake at night. It is a place overrun with foul beastmen, wild demigryphs, mutated monsters, and many other things, each viler than the last. At Elector Count Graf Todbringer's decree, there is a standing bounty on the heads of these dread creatures, attracting mercenaries from all over the old world. The Knights of the White Wolf often take up the hunt, seeing it as a good way to test their skills, and blood their order's newest initiates. So it is that bands of these fierce knights often sally deep into the Drakwald to cull the beasts in the name of Ulric. The greatest huntsmen of the Empire test their trade in the Drakwald Forest, and for every 100 would-be monster hunters that are ripped apart by baying hordes or devoured by blood-greedy beasts, one may succeed in capturing a particularly ferocious and impressive creature. These are often sold for a healthy profit to the Imperial Zoo in Altdorf, or to an Elector Count, for his own personal menagerie. However, it is not just the savage animals of the forest that prey on unweary travellers. The trees themselves have been known to attack passers-by. Reaching out with sturdy boughs, they entrap their victims before absorbing their vital fluids and spitting out their withered husks. It is not without reason that the Child of Nordland are scared into obedience with the tales of the Drakwald Oak. So you may remember from episode 2 or 3, I think? It was some time ago now. Spoke about Kazrak the One-Eye, and his feud with Boris Todbringer. And yeah, Middenheim and well, the Midland in general, and the Beastmen have got a pretty irritating past, thanks to the Drakwald being full of them. So so I thought we'd actually talk about that some more. I'm reading from a Beastmen book. This is, I think, I want to say 6th edition. I forget. I think it's 6th edition Beastmen. But yeah, it talks about them being in the Drakwald. So in the very heartland of the Empire is to be found the Drakwald. The war herds that abide within the cursed forest appear especially touched by the dark power of chaos, for the Drakwald harbours a great many veins of weirdling stone beneath the forest mulch. Mutation is rife amongst the ranks of those that dwell there. The Bestigors sport the most impressive horns, and the Chaos Warhounds the longest and sharpest fangs. The warherds of the Drakwald are accompanied by great numbers of bestial chaos spawn. Such creatures might once have been mighty chieftains, or perhaps shamans that drew too deeply of the winds of magic, only to be twisted into grotesque new forms by their uncaring masters. When the war comes and the herds gather, the spawn answer the call along with the other beastmen, shambling and thrashing from their forest lairs in response to some long-forgotten instinct. Of all tribes of the Drakwald, it is the Skrinderkin herd that is most famous for the number of chaos spawn that joins it in battle. These repugnant, blade-limbed creatures share the same skin, fur and horn coloration as the tribe's Gors, so must presumably have been members of the same herd that have remained with their kin, rather than fleeing or being driven off when chaos overcame their bodies. Indeed, one of these spawn must once have borne the chieftain's own banner to war, for it still brandishes high a ragged flag, its shaft fused into distended claw, while its bellows a deafening, slack-jawed war cry. Despite its location, the wars fought in and around this blasted forest of the Drakwald are not only against the men of the Empire, for the Beastmen often encounter Skaven intruding upon their territory. The Ratmen seek the numerous fragments of warpstone littered about the region. The Skaven maintain a network of tunnels said to stretch to every corner of the globe, and many of these surface in the depths of the Drakwald. The Beastmen in the region are ever watchful for signs of the Skaven's activities. The first indication of a Skaven incursion might be a massive subsidence of the forest floor, through which entire trees or rock formations will fall. At such times, mighty armies of Beastmen and Skaven clash, sometimes within earshot of the cities of men. The defenders stationed on the walls filled with dread at the mysterious blood-curdling sounds of war echoing from the forest, or seemingly from below their feet. There are those war herds within the Drakwald that have taken the fight directly to the Skaven. The most infamous of these is the war herd of Goros Borogorger. After many years of war in the dark, root-infested tunnels beneath the Drakwald, the Burrow Gorgers have mastered the tactic of starving scores of ravening Chaos Warhounds and driving them into the Skaven's lairs. As the Ratmen emerge fleeing from their warrens in terror, the Bestigors cut them down with mighty axes before collapsing the tunnel entrances on any survivors. So they're quite thrifty, aren't they? So yeah, pretty grim. Pretty grim. But yeah, so the forests are terrible places. Skaven and Beastmen running around, as well as demigryphs and all sorts. And so yeah, the Empire's not exactly been tamed. Very big land, and a lot of people with their armies, all these heroes and everything. But the forest is just so saturated with chaos that yeah, it's kind of hard to really call it a land you own. And Midland is pretty bad for that. Those are not very nice forests. But obviously they're further north, and the further north you go, the more corrupt and crazy the world gets. The closer to the polar gates. So yeah, pretty cool. Okay, so I think I'm going to call it for this episode, because yeah, the next stuff I want to talk about, it's going to get really. I'm going to get really into it. It's going to be a big chunk of a couple of books next, I think. So I don't want to start that now with only like a couple of minutes left. So I'm going to call it now. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, please do comment, like, and subscribe. It's always good to hear some some comments, whether good or bad. It's always good to hear constructive feedback. So if you have any more ideas for the series, please let me know. Or if you have any questions about anything I've mentioned, yeah, I'd be happy to try and clarify. So guys, yeah, I guess I'll see you in the next video. So have a good day, guys.